Yes.
Megan, so Megan texted us.
Yeah, she's not able to be. No, neither is Brian.
Just. So we got one.
All right.
Maybe a-
Let's let it roll.
It's you.
Approved.
One thing that happened a while back was.
Maybe you should see him. I know that's gonna hurt like that.
Wouldn't come in. He didn't come. So we all got here for the meeting.
Oh,
But the thing is, if there's a movement, you have to have at least four to get it picked through. So you can't, like the town can't do it 3 on 3, so everybody can go on. You know, so it was stupid.
okay. Like to call the September 9th Poughkeepsie Joint Water Board meeting to order at 4:31. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Vote to open meeting. So the first thing on the agenda is approval of the revised July 1st and the August 5th minutes. Do I have did everybody have a chance to look them over?
Yeah.
We made that correction. Number 8 has been corrected on the July 1st minutes. Thank you, Doreen. So I have a motion to. Well, I could make the motion to approve the minutes. So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Right.
Aye.
Passes unanimously. Oh, we should say, just for your record, that Brian Martinez is absent today and Megan Dyker is absent today, but we have a quorum, so we forward on. Number 2, public participation. Doreen.
First of all, I'd like to say that the microphone that you had in place at the last meeting certainly helped, because when I looked at the YouTube video, you could clearly hear what people down the other end of the table were saying. So yes, so that was a big improvement.
I think Dottie gets the credit for that, right? Thank you, Dottie.
And I haven't heard anything more about any audit status. And again, you know, this is the nearing the end of 2024, and the last audit that the board had agreed to accept was for 2019. So very far behind in the audit process. I don't know if that's been discussed at any point. And well, I guess I'll just let it go at that today.
Well, unfortunately, Mr. Martinez is not here today, but he did, I'm trying to flip back through my notes. He did mention
I think 2020
The audits.
started drafts. And 21 and 22 are gonna be done this year.
Yeah.
The intent is to have be through 23 this year.
so we are catching up.
We'd have to wait, ask him or someone from the city where we are on that now. So maybe we can put in a query or for the next meeting, we can find out.
I'll ask Mr. Martinez to have that ready for, or we can. put
That'd be
it on the
great.
Agenda for
Let us know
this
where we
meeting,
are.
just as a follow-up. Anyone else need to participate? Okay. Number 3, sorry, plant status report.
We had an average flow of 12.33 million gallons a day last month, which is getting pretty high for this time of year, of course, but you know, so we're seeing high flows. Quality's been great. The average 0.04 turbidity was. We took the basin out of line, so therefore the board took the basin number 1 out of line. And because of that, we have a lot of sludge. We have a removal process. So sludge was up 160,000 or 18% more than it was the month before. We're still having difficulties getting the UV on the UPS that is 3D. The power supply for the UV. It's just been a coordination with Schneider Electric and their service company. So now they're gonna come in September 23rd and get a check on it. And then on the 15th and 16th, I guess they're gonna energize it in October. So it's been a long grind out battle, but we're getting it done. Also, one of the concerns last month was the electric. We talked about electric. So I reached out to a company we've used before, which is called Facilities Engineering Associates, and Connecticut. They work on high quality, reliable power. That's their thing. They work with companies like hospitals and stuff, to make sure they can live forever. And I used them before when we had a problem, and they've done a really good job. So we gonna have them in for a day, and they're going to look through the whole system, and then we'll come up with some recommendations on where we go from there.
Do they work, they provide generators and things like that, or they're essentially
They're
a
an engineer.
consultant?
They're an engineer.
Engineering consultants.
But the thing I found with water treatment consultants, that the electric engineering of that company is not the best. You know, I mean,
It's a different set of skills.
Yeah, and it's just, if they can do the work, but the reliability issues, we really need to get deep look into it. And these guys are more on top of the current standards and doing things. So I'm glad for that. We also want to say that the employees got the back pay for 2022 and 23, so that's all. You can see that being contemplated in the budget.
I just wanted to ask about the power failure, August 9th. It says it was
There's,
would he be looking into that too? So he'd be able to
right,
fix these surges or find,
find out what we need to do to make this not happen. And then I also was wanting to get him to where, once he makes a decision, could be working with Central Hudson to get him fixed. Because we really need someone that has the engineering license and also has that ability to communicate and ability to get out there with Central Hudson. So I'm gonna put that. Put that.
great, only one day, that's amazing. You can get it all done in one day.
And the flow studies to be done by November, we think.
Yeah, I got the schedule in there.
Okay, great, yeah. Yep, I saw that, thank you.
Oh, that's coming up in number 5. All right, we're all set on that. Number 4, operating budget status.
So right now, it's 57% of the year, and we're 60% spent. So that kind of brings us back up to not being clear to equal, and just about what happens this time of year. We have some lines that have been drawn on a little more and others less. So we still have not overspent our budget. We're still, and I haven't taken out a contingency money either. So we're still, I think we're looking okay. We're keeping a close eye on it.
Randy, do you print this report? Do you print this right off of
You know,
the system? Because I want to print it for DPW and I haven't figured out, I like this report. This is nice.
what I do it in Excel. Because the city system is not user friendly.
Okay,
And so what I do is I have a running budget folder,
yeah,
and I just copy last month's and bring it in the next one, copy the dollars from last month or this month, and
yeah, this isn't easy to do. Like,
but it makes me look at everything.
right, yeah,
So It's
no.
not as simple as thing.
And I always say, I want to run a report that Randy runs.
Randy will tutorial.
Did
My
the city use Munis?
We use New World.
New World, yeah, it's New World, and it's just not, it's not user, to me, it's not user friendly.
The same issue with
Same with
Munis in the
Munis.
town is
It's
that
like-
the quarterly budget reports.
And I just want a simple, like, how we doing, where we at, and then I can't, you gotta go through every line and
You would think that a municipal finance software system
you would.
would put that as a high priority, but there aren't any, I mean.
Yeah, I thought it was
Been
just me.
talking to
I'm
other
never
towns,
talking about
right?
this.
You know, and there, no, it's a widespread problem.
Cool, yeah, thank you for that.
Honestly, you know, we've got people that get the program to finance people, and they don't really, they look at it
No,
and they don't know what we need.
you're right, and I'm asked specifically, I know what I want, and they're like, yeah, it really doesn't, you know, Randy does it every month.
I know.
We just got Randy come to your office, hang out for a day.
Yeah. It was my sneaky suspicion, the system does not do that, he
Yeah.
does it. How's it going?
How are you?
Right up in a meeting. Apologize for that.
We got to number
Number 5.
5.
Globe study status, and again, leave that.
Okay, so we do have the contract with Barton and Luigi. But their schedule is to have it completed by December. And we have a purchase order with them, so they're gonna be calling, starting up pretty soon. I think it's a good scope of work, and just think to see it going.
Wait,
Yeah.
November or December?
November draft and December final.
Okay. I asked because the IMA committee very much needs that.
Right,
And so if we have a draft by November, that'll be helpful to us and then we can, firm that up.
right,
And this hasn't been done, you're saying,
5 years, 6 years ago.
5 or 6 years. Because you're saying, you're seeing that when you said 12.33 million gallons flow. So that's gone up in 5 or 6 years, that's.
Oh,
the
yeah.
use-
our
That's,
flows are up and-
that's usage, right?
Yeah, that's usage. So I think last year we averaged 11.4 billion gallons
Wow.
a day.
What is last year, 2023?
And then,
We're minus one.
I know that's yelling.
When school starts, I keep thinking, okay, the end of the year is 25 and it will up.
Yeah,
So that was like 11 something, 11 million average.
fiscal year versus calendar year.
Well, school year was,
and the last 5 year study, the projections, we were off on that.
Like 35%.
Right,
ooh,
right. So that was,
don't, you didn't hire those people.
No, I didn't. We did not do that.
but yeah, that's an important thing to know that like.
Right.
We were off.
Yeah,
We were under, were we, yeah, we
Yeah, we're
budgeting
under.
under.
yeah, we blew past the projections.
They-
so.
What they looked at was what the customers, or what the population would be. And then he just gave it a simple number to per person, and that's all they did. They didn't look at growth.
Right.
They didn't.
Well,
look at-
commercial activity, everything else that goes on.
Yeah.
Right. And as we think about the future of the plant and the city and the town's relationship with it, we gotta know,
Well, we
we gotta have an accurate flow study. We can't go, and
For sure.
we can't go anywhere without that.
And in this process, you gotta loop in like the planning and, all that stuff and everything that's,
So big- big
doing the
part of
scope.
Start is to go talk to the planners.
Yeah, exactly. The scope of where the city and town are going and stuff like that is
And I
is
can.
one of the key things in that.
Right, and I can confirm that they have already been in touch with the town planners, so,
Okay.
yep,
Oh, wow.
yep.
How
Because
did,
Mike Welty wrote me and said, what is that? I said, aha, they've already started, so this is good.
does anyone know how to pronounce?
Lon Judas? or-
Lejudas?
Lejudas.
Lejudas. I was gonna ask for that. Okay.
Judas, I don't know, I want to say J. I don't, G-U, there's some weird.
I was gonna say
kind of overall.
Luigi. Okay, number 6, filter under drain replacements.
I got the proposal from Aaron and, we got a schedule, but we need to get going on it. And I thought maybe Aaron could give an update.
Absolutely. So I think since the last time I've been here.
You wanna come to the table? You should sit.
Come on up.
Plenty of seats here.
Catch you in that microphone.
Hello.
Aaron,
So we had a meeting here at the plant and received comments on the preliminary engineering report that was already completed. And our action item is figuring out a site visit for the operators at places where the similar under drains are being installed. So we're been data collecting on that. So from a technical standpoint, we finished that preliminary work and are trying to do some work in between, but had a really good meeting to just discuss the different under drains and the recommendation versus what the staff here have observed. And I think we're all very much so on the same page. That ties into our task also had to do with funding. So yeah, I don't know what the best funding news, and I've been working with Brock to try to figure out exactly how this has been approached in the past. So as you all know, we submitted we listed the project with Drinking Water SRF. That is it. We also applied for a WIA grant that has not been announced. Yes, exactly.
So
We have a horrible score.
this is IEP, and we're on the IEP.
Yeah, that's the IUP
This
listing.
came out today.
Yep, it came out last week.
I got today.
Intended use plan from for drinking water explicitly. So there's 2 other replace media, replace under drain projects on there. So I explicitly said to Brock, you know what, why is our score not so attractive? And he promptly blamed the town of Poughkeepsie, said their MHI is median household income. It's
Oh.
like 3 times what the city is. And I said, well, then even though we've done it this way in the past, should have we submitted 2 applications? And he said, absolutely not. You always submit 1 application on behalf of the joint order board, which is what we've done in the past, what we've done now. So I really like to poke back to Brock a little bit and say, but wait a minute, why should, because our score only qualifies us for the slightly, I think it's 50% of market rate financing or a little bit reduced rate, so not hardship. And I think the city should qualify for hardship, which would be a 0% financing. So I think we need to negotiate a bit, but we absolutely have financing. We've been awarded financing. And we do not know the result of the grant application yet, but
That's usually November, right? Somewhere.
typically
November,
November,
December.
December, yeah,
Yeah, I said October. This, it gets implemented October through
yeah.
next year,
So
but money's probably not gonna be available until November, December.
or if the grant is awarded, we can, if we're gonna use this route of financing, we can start closing right now, but I thought, I went back and forth with Brock a few times. I thought this meeting's coming up. Let's chat about it. And then, but I know we independently, both the town and the city close independently, with drinking water SRF, like everyone, as you all know, I demanded forms from everybody and they were all submitted. So it seems as if we should have some flexibility, but I'm gonna have to talk to Brock a little bit more to see if there's any flexibility in how we're judged on the intended use plan.
And this is an intended use plan, so we can't start asking for money.
We can, as soon as that becomes final, which is usually within the next month, we can start right now getting the funding application together and working towards a closing date. We want to know how we did with WIA. And so
That's the grant.
that's the grant.
So I'm not. Tommy, remain calm, but I'm just gonna ask a question here. What if the town of Poughkeepsie, I mean, I find the state's approach to this really frustrating because in other contexts, not the city, but in other contexts, right? It's sort of, oh my gosh, if a particular municipality has not invested and has not, and things are a mess. For example, the village of Wappingers Falls now as a really, really rough, financial situation, then, there's kind of like, oh my gosh, well, we have to come in and fund there. Whereas if a town is taking care of its system, then, you're sort of down on the list.
So because we're not an emergency,
right,
but it doesn't sound like
right.
that was in the score.
Right.
Is that in the score?
That's in the score.
This is,
Oh.
but it is possible that the town of Poughkeepsie could consider, not borrowing for its share.
And to me, if that allows the city, that's all fair to get a more competitive rate though, for instance, a lower or subsidized rate that, hey, any way to get at this funding and to be as cost effective as possible seems like a important thing to do.
That would mean that we have to use other funds, which means that we would have to talk with our bond, folks and be really, I don't know if that's possible or not.
And I'm
Or
really not
advantageous to
sure
the town.
that would.
But it's very
impact it.
frustrating to feel like, well, you've got, because,
Can
it's
I
a
ask,
frustrating situation.
I'm frustrated too. I thought that was a crazy answer.
is Brock who is Brock?
The New York State Department of Health, who's our primary contact, and somehow he is a man of many talents. Because he also significantly technically weighs into the activities that happen at the plant, but he also is the guru on how you get scored with the drinking water SRF process. So
Well, that would be Department of Health.
so
But
he
I'm
knows it
just
all.
I think
confused.
it's a suspicion that does that. We had to submit, every time we turned the filter on, we had to submit the report to him to make sure he was good with it. We had to submit the design to him, everything goes, and now we gotta do the funding for him.
Yeah, one of my partners is a registered bond counsel and he knows all about these things. So he might kind of know the nuts and bolts of if it has to be together, if you can do it separately. So I can just give him a call and see what his thoughts are. I mean, he'll at least have some insight on
I'd
that.
be happy to hear as well if he has any insight on
Absolutely.
that, on
Okay.
that. I hadn't seen the
Because
IUP.
Brock must know, but I feel like, well, what percentage of our score came from, we don't need it right now because it's, it's fixed, but it might break later.
Again, there were very similar projects listed.
Uh-huh.
And so I pointed this out to him and he said the main primary difference in our score was the MHI issue. So you'll see there's
So we would need to get a much higher score to get into that line.
to get under the hardship
This is
line.
just that were.
So I do want to point out, we have financing. We absolutely have financing. I'm just being greedy. I would like
What was
additionally subsidized
what
financing
was our total for this? 2.9? No.
for the construction. Here, I'll
Whole
pull.
project? I'm trying to.
Yeah, 2.9, and that's including a contingency. Which is,
Seems 90.
yeah, traditional contingency, so.
A
So,
lot of NASA and stuff again there.
When you go through this, you get scores based upon whether you're responding to a violation, gets a lot of points. That helps a lot.
But we don't have a
I
violation.
I
know.
don't want to violate.
it's why-
Violations aren't good.
Right, so like, you know, if your system is at a point where you're getting violations and you haven't done what you should do, then all of a sudden you get great scores, but if you're a good citizen, you get penalized. And not that people get violations always because they're, you know,
Right, right.
people are in different circumstances, I get it.
But they still give you
Municipalities are
an
different.
interest rate, so.
absolutely, and it's secured and there's a set process, so. But that's my report that I tried to have multiple emails to see if I could figure out a better path forward for us before coming here, but.
And there are other similar projects on the list where the nature of the problem, the filter failure, and the urgency of the situation are the same.
They're very vague. So all I can do is read the description because they're not my projects,
Right.
but it's, one of them explicitly is media and filter under drain replacement. That's the whole paragraph. So I don't know if I started searching for media and under drain, and I found two additional projects that were both in maybe the higher mid 60s, somewhere around there.
And
So
what communities?
we're gonna have to, I didn't print it out. I'm gonna have to look, but I email, you know what? I bet I could find it because I.
No worries, we can talk about it later on.
Yeah, and I don't want to take too much time.
Oh, so I'm like, we all scored the same. Oh.
Yeah.
It says we have a score of 15 out of how many? What's the 100?
Oh, well, it's even higher than that can be. Yeah. It's,
But it would.
and
be
they, so
extraordinary
what's
if-
the other thing against us right now is, we don't want this. This is against us, but obviously there's a huge amount of emerging contaminant issues. So PFAS is the king right now, not your problem. That's what we want. We don't want that problem. No one wants that problem, but there's a
get priority,
very
of
big
course.
priority on the PFAS issues right now.
And if you look at the
And
first pages of the priority list, you're seeing a lot of
PFAS,
people who are
yeah.
primarily dependent on water systems with PFAS.
Like
Yeah,
happening.
emerging contaminants is huge, and that's the real leader. What do you think the other thing is?
Lead.
There you go.
Lead?
I knew I'd get it right here. Lead service line replacement.
Yeah,
Huge,
Yeah.
big dollar value.
very big dog.
And those are the top, you get bonus points if you're one of those tip issues. So,
So so those issues are crowding out others.
yeah, because by the way, we don't want a 60. Like, that's not even a great score either. So
Exactly.
but those are the top two.
Have you seen any of the funding for the lead service replacements and all that stuff come around?
Yeah, that's.
I haven't been able to see anything.
I'll send it. It's in the draft. They've divided it up into
Okay.
multiple categories.
Yeah, 'cause I need to look into some of that stuff and
Yeah.
it's coming up empty.
Sorry, I
So,
didn't want to
no.
cut you off. Let me know when you're done.
No, I think that, so the two aspects where we're continuing on from the technical aspect with the budget we have to get some in-person time at a facility. We're trying to find one that's under replacement so we can see it. Obviously, if you walk out of the filter, it's hard to see. They're filled with water and operating. And then just sort of not a slam dunk on our financing, but we absolutely have qualified for financing and can have through drinking water SRF financing. My experience also is should you get a loan, even if you start the closing process, should you get a grant, the loan just takes that into an account. You always are dealing with your drinking water SRF financing application regardless. So it's not a problem to start working with them to get that in order and then learn with that we have additional funding. So
And I'm sorry, you said the WIA comes in October. We find out about WIA in.
I think
October?
it's like December.
Oh,
I've
Yeah,
seen
late
it.
November.
Yeah.
Oh,
Beginning of December, late November, yeah. Like, I know I've sent an email that said early holiday present.
went to the city, went to the town, they both authorized them out with the cost for the full amount. And so usually what happens, the week comes in later and.
Pays back some of the loan.
Yeah.
Well,
pays
what
back.
happens is they just take it, pay it all, yeah.
Yeah.
But they usually do it the last payment. One thing, remember that this was considered a state emergency, this is replacement, and it's been quite a few months now since we not went anywhere. So I had asked 2 months ago that maybe the city and town could look at some short-term financing and to get us through so we could move forward on this. So when I asked, Eric put together a schedule, she put a detailed cost draw on the thing too. So you can see how the money's gonna go.
This is.
Yeah, so, but based.
Mine got off, this got printed.
So I don't know, but it'd be good to get this thing going. She's showing it starting in September 2024 and not ending until the end of next year. So it's a pretty long process.
I printed out a copy of it as well. I don't know if it's, you had sent the Excel sheet in the packet, which isn't the easiest printer, but well, we have a breakdown by just the engineering draw from the front and it's the total design that is 161, but before we get close to that, I would anticipating that we would close on the financing.
Right.
There's nothing really stopping us from doing that. So
And each of those figures would be cut in half for the town and city.
You get 45.
35, 45.
Yeah.
sorry, I didn't think to add that.
No, that's fine. Just taking.
We're on the list, maybe we can just go forward with it without. And I don't know, maybe next month we can decide, it'd be really helpful if we can make this moving forward. And if we can look at those numbers and say, yeah, we can, front that little bit of money in the front, it's not gonna be millions of dollars. But then we can go ahead and get the project going.
Yeah,
She's looking-
we'd really like to get going on
Yeah.
the design just
for
because,
2 months of engineering is like 60,000, and worth 60,000, so that.
Basically, you don't raise real money till October 25.
Right.
No, you don't really have the big money until then.
oh yeah. But it's impactful from a scheduling perspective because we can start getting,
So, I just want to take a step back. You said we're okay for funding, but the funding doesn't come through yet. Is that the issue?
so by being on this list,
Yeah.
you have financing.
Financing.
But it takes like 3 months at least to close on financing. So, and it's me harassing everyone for signing paperwork again. Brian's heavily involved. He's very familiar with the process. So it's he and I working together to get everything to the financing group and then closing on it. So it's just generally like 3 months of submitting forms and paperwork, and then they close, their legal team reviews it, their legal team reviews the other things and grants the financing. So
We don't make the decision here. We'd have to go to the town and the city and ask if they could front.
Yep.
45, 55 split of $70,000.
Well, it'd be more than.
No, that would be this would be for the first, how many months of this would you be proposing for us to front?
if we look at, I mean, in the worst case scenario, we talk about the design phase, it's 161, but that's through bidding and you wouldn't want to have, let me flip that open. We wouldn't want to consider even going to bidding without closing. Just see it.
We're looking at 140 to 150,000.
Yeah.
So, and then. 90,
Yeah, it goes all the way through. Well, that's all engineering budget, right?
Yeah,
And then
then
construction.
this all is something, you want to get through all of this. Basically.
Yeah, pretty, so that all is
Here?
definitely in the bidding phase. That's probably permit review.
Well,
Yeah.
we think we have the money by December.
Okay.
So
So if we
what
started in,
happen is you get this money already spent, paid back.
Yeah.
So you draw.
so if we started in October, it would be the first 3 months.
Well, September been paid.
No, there we go. Yeah.
So it'd be September, October, November. and-
Well, if we started in October,
It'd be October, November, December. So it'd be 3 months.
So if it's October, no, if it's the numbers that are here, September, October, November, they move to being October, November, December,
Yep.
that's 80,600.
And that would get us well through the preliminary design, so we could at least have decisions made and start initial design while the financing catches up. That's right about a good dollar between, I'd recommend between that and 100 while you're closing financing, and we'll have a substantial amount of damage to be done on getting the final design completed, so.
So do we need to make a motion to go to the town of the Nassau, because Brian's not here?
Yeah.
Here we have,
I
do we
think.
make a motion or we just
I don't
bring it up?
think you need to-
Yeah,
Probably just
exactly.
do it.
Okay,
Yeah,
I think maybe the city and town want to communicate together.
Yeah,
for sure.
So maybe they.
That and
Right,
that
this
match.
weekend.
this segues very nicely into number 7. Because if you're gonna go together, the IMA working group might wanna just hash that out at your next
We
meeting.
could discuss it Friday, just,
Yeah.
it is this Friday, so.
Friday, within school hours, right? I can't come.
Well, I don't know how long we're gonna go. We start at 1, I think,
Start at 1.
so we might still be here
I
at
finish
3.
at 2:30.
Yeah.
By the time
I
I
can
get
always
over here,
text
No, it's not gonna work.
by the time I get here, it'll be 3.
Unless you wanted to do sooner, we can zoom in.
Oh, yeah, I could zoom in, just, to take notes and be aware of what's going on. Okay.
Yeah, that would be fine. If you'd like to do that.
Thank you. I get the last half hour to be caught up. Okay, so. Who wants to report out on the IMA working group?
I was just thinking that we're moving along. We're setting up a Dropbox and we're gonna have a meeting Friday.
Is that the email I got about a SharePoint? Is it called a SharePoint?
Yeah,
I didn't know who sent it. I thought it was.
James was gonna set it up, but I.
Oh, it wasn't James, it was somebody like Shannon. Is there a Shannon?
No.
I don't think I
it
saw
was
that.
James Nyko, and you could be Shannon might be working with him.
Well, maybe, but I deleted it because I thought it was like something about. Don't go on to something that's Microsoft that isn't Microsoft and there's a.
It's
I can forward, or we could ask James Nyko to forward again to you,
Yeah,
the SharePoint, we can get on, and take a look.
Did you get it?
Yes, I did.
No, I did.
I have
did
not
the
tried
same
to
thing.
log in yet.
I did the same thing as I saw it. It said it's weird thing, so I didn't.
and then it said, here's a ID number to
Yeah.
put in. And I was like, oh my gosh, because we
Yeah.
just had a
Right.
false,
Yeah.
like a
Yeah.
close
Well,
encounter with.
do we need to, if we're going to all walk through getting into the library on Friday, which seems important, or do we want to meet somewhere other than here? Because it's harder to.
Oh, the Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
Can we do a point? We can do it.
You should be able to do it here on the big screen.
But just do it around.
But if we want everybody by the end of Friday to make sure that we're into that document folder, we won't be able to do Wi-Fi here.
So we can sign into the SharePoint with this computer right here. So while everybody's in the room, so you can go through the steps of getting into it.
Okay. We can watch and then go home and try it.
I just need the link on that. I don't have any.
Yeah.
I haven't gotten any
Yeah.
information.
Yeah, and I thought the first meeting that I was at was really, really beneficial.
Good.
All right, so number 8, trailer bid.
If I could just go back just for
Oh,
one second, no, just to reaffirm what we said earlier is that we did put together a timeline for the IMA working group, but it, over the next 6-8 months or so, but it does depend on that flow study. So, the draft of the draft and the confirmation of the flow study is going to be essential to.
Yeah, I guess as another piece, about a week and a half ago, I picked up 14 banker boxes from Wallace and Wallace with all of the paperwork going back to, I believe, the 90s. So
Excellent.
I had a 6-day trial, so I haven't had a chance to go through, but my plan is this week to, start digging through and just seeing what's in there, what isn't, and that should help build the library. And anything that's not electronic form, we'll scan in and, make sure it makes its way.
That'd be great.
And I somehow fit them in my little sedans, so in one trip,
16 boxes.
14.
Wow.
And if you got any questions, I was there.
Perfect. Yeah, I'll definitely reach out if anything
Yeah.
pops up.
They say, well, we've had quite a few layers, starting with John.
I wonder if it makes sense at some point to have an intern help digitize some of that other stuff. I mean, I guess we have to get into the library, the most important stuff, but we agreed we were gonna create a sort of folder with, the confirmed essential, executed documents. And then we have a lot of other drafts floating around that may or may not have been executed, whatever, drafts, proposals, and that would be a second folder. So all of that's gonna need to go into the library, but I'm sure you don't want to digitize 15 boxes worth of stuff, but at
Yeah.
some point there might be more that we want to put in, but if we can figure out what the essentials are. that's
Yeah, and I'll work with my paralegal on, pulling out documents, and she knows her stuff, and I'm supposed to bill paralegal time, but I don't, so it won't cost you anything extra. So we're good there.
And we can convert a PDF to a digital form, that you can work with it.
Mhm.
Last one,
It's a PDF, and I feel like we're ready to go over it.
so.
OCRing, as they say, right?
Okay, number 8, the trailer.
And we did we had the trailer bid. And unfortunately, Converto, which is the company we worked with last time, emailed me their bid, which is $138,240. But it wasn't submitted properly, so it really didn't meet the ability to reward. However, the Spectrum, which is a new company out of Pennsylvania, bid in at $101,704. So what the Converto thing does, it gives you that we got a good bid for Spectrum. So that's a good bid. That's probably where we are. The problem that's come up is that our tractor that drives the pole for trailer, they found a significant hole in the frame through rusting, and there's concern that that tractor should be on the road. So we shipped it out to another company and got it a plate put on it, so it's okay. But our maintenance staff feels that it'd be better to not get the trailer down, put that for next year and get the tractor. But they're coming back, the trailer could be 140 some thousand.
No, didn't we get one trailer
Yeah, we
and
got
then we didn't get the second trailer, the new one?
this,
So
yeah,
you get the tractor, you have a new trailer and a new tractor, basically.
yeah.
I had a question, like I understand stuff rust out, but does it need a garage? Is this trailer or tractor, is the tractor like covered or anything?
No, it's outside.
Cause I don't know how old it is, but
What year's your current one? That thing's old.
It's not that old. It's
No?
less than 10 years ago.
Really? It looks older.
Well, we have an old one too.
Okay, that's the one.
We have two, because they don't give up anything. But,
I was just thinking like a trailer port. Cause I know when I had a car and it wasn't when it was just on a dirt road, it was on a dirt road, that was my driveway. That thing rusted out faster than I don't know what. Cause also Volkswagen and they seem to rust no matter what, but, that's just more money, but it would save money in the end, right? If we could, cause that was part of the chassis that rusted
yeah,
out.
right.
It's crazy.
Oh, it's definitely proven that, like when you can garage vehicles and equipment, the lifetime of them definitely expands without a doubt.
Yeah.
So
So you want to rebid the tractor
But I'd like to bid the tractor.
bid the
and
tractor,
then not award this and see what we
Yeah.
get from it.
do that first, just how's the trailer holding up? Does it got holes in it?
No, it's okay. Okay, so you want to go ahead and do that then?
So we want to move, do we need a motion?
Yeah.
A motion
Make
to
a motion to
rebid?
bid the tractor out.
Second.
All in favor?
All right,
Aye.
Aye. 4-0. Go for it.
Okay.
Number 9, any old business? No? Going once, going twice? Number 10, new business. Going once, going twice? Okay. You have a motion, do I make that motion to adjourn? I make the motion to adjourn the meeting at 5:10.
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Good meeting. Nice and quick.
That's going on. Please let me know.
And,
I'm kind of in the dark trying to figure stuff out with.
I just made a note to, and if you can remind me
survey's
too at the
done.
IMA
Okay.
meeting on
For the
Friday,
most part,
that
we got a little
city
speaking
and
if you
town
want.
should talk
We've
about
been
this
replacing
issue.
services. The highway wants to.
First, I
to
believe
pay
it's
to the new roads.
$80,600,
So,
the first
doing the
3
roads.
months of
These
expenses.
streets are-
For